Plow Zone Radio Show. We have Matt with Deep Within. Matt, how you doing, my friend?
I really appreciate you guys having me. It was a pleasure meeting you initially at NAMM this year. The NAMM Show 2026 was freaking amazing, and awesome talking with you guys, and I appreciate being here today.
You bet.
Yeah, cool, man. So we were just walking around. The NAMM show. And we're looking for people to interview, and I come up to you guys. I'm all, hey, you guys want to do an interview? You're all, hell yeah. So we pulled you in the booth. Yeah, we pulled you in the booth. Had a great conversation. So we were just talking off air before we came on about you guys just got off a killer tour, man, and you got another one coming up. Why don't you touch about that one?
Yeah, so our management, Distilled Entertainment out of San Francisco, they set us up with an independent tour with a couple other bands on their label or on their roster. And so we played Southern California, we played Las Vegas, and then we went into Albuquerque, New Mexico, and then we did about 6 dates down in Texas. And the cool thing about it is amazingly, shortly after the tour was booked, through our management, we ended up getting picked up a few months ago for the X Faces tour, which is original guys from Mushroomhead coming back together for the first time. I love Mushroomhead, but let me just say the X Faces is more Mushroomhead than Mushroomhead.
Really?
J-Man and Pig Venus and Wayland, all those original guys are coming back together, forming this band. And it was actually just supposed to be like a test. They booked a couple of shows up in the Cleveland and Michigan area. They sold out in like 24 hours. So they booked 2 more shows, and then those sold out. So
wow.
I'm sure the powers that be were like, hey guys, this might be something. So they ended up booking a major, almost 2-month national tour. And Deep Within was picked up to open for those guys, and I mean, this thing is going to be incredible. There's already shows selling out. A lot of them are already at 50% or more capacity. So anybody that's out there, go to the X Faces webpage, xfaces.com, and get your tickets for this. And not only will you get to witness, essentially history being made with these guys coming back together in this independent project, but also you will get to see yours truly and Deep Within on stage opening for these guys on a national scene. It's going to be, I'll bet it's one of the biggest tours of the summer.
Wow. Why don't you jump back and tell us a little about your band? I mean, you guys are definitely a visual. Definitely the visuals coming, but the music. Why don't you tell us about your band?
Yes. Yeah, so we are like you said, we're very when I came into the band, the vision was kind of take it to a more theatrical, very impactful visual sense, but at the same time, the music compositions are written in a sense that it's a very visual experience as well. Like when I hear music, Joe sends me a foundational composition, and then we get together and kind of hone that. But then I write. I basically close my eyes, listen to the music, and see a film playing, and then that's kind of how I write. Very visual, very cinematic, and so all the songs are Deep Within, but each one is an independent story, and so there's something in there for everybody, and oftentimes. When we're performing, and we don't ask for this, fans have just started coming up and being like, wow, you guys remind me of, like, if Slipknot and Lamb of God had a baby, it would be Deep Within. Or, Rob Zombie and Marilyn Manson. We get that a lot too. So we get compared to, a lot of times Slipknot, Lamb of God, Rob Zombie, and Marilyn Manson, and I'm like, hey, I'll take all those guys.
Take it all.
If Rob Zombie and Marilyn Manson had a love child.
Exactly. And then I do false chord fry screaming, but then I also do a lot of melodic singing. So I think that also brings a lot of. What's interesting is we were on a tour. The last tour that we did was also an independent tour through our management. We were up in Northern California. And there was a couple that came in just as we were getting ready to go on, and they stayed for the whole set. Afterwards, they came up and they said, hey, we were honestly walking by looking for some live music. There's a jazz bar down the street, and we love jazz. And so, but they were like, but we heard you guys playing, and then we came in and we saw what was happening with the people and your makeup and all the craziness going on with the show. It's very intense. And so they stayed for the whole show. They bought our debut tracks. They bought some T-shirts and stuff. So it's just a testimony to people that don't necessarily like metal, like the broad spectrum of metal, but Deep Within just has something very unique with the various textures and all the different songs that we have. I mean, there's people dancing to our music, which is, you got the mosh pit people, and then you have literally people dancing. Yeah, so I don't know exactly what the connection is with all of these different types of people. From we have young kids all the way up to people in their 60s and 70s that are coming to these shows. And this last tour that we were on, to kind of jump back into that, we had very similar circumstances happen where people would come up and just be like, we saw the flyer with your face on it. And that alone got us interested in coming to see what this is all about. But because, like you said, we're a very visual band. If you just see Deep Within on a flyer, that's right. Of course, going to grow. But, it's just another band. But when you see the image of the band, then it just automatically gets people interested and to see what this is all about. And I often say, when we go on these tours, and we've been on tours with our very first tour was a national tour with Edema, Smile, Empty Soul. So we got to see things from a very different perspective than a lot of bands. And I feel very blessed. And that, we've only been doing this for 36 months. So things are kind of going nuts. But seeing things from that perspective on more of an A-list type level, when you're going out with bands like that on a tour, you really start to appreciate the fans and the fan perspective and what it's all about. But people would see, the name Deep Within, but nobody really knows what that is. But as soon as you see the visual, it's like people are automatically interested, because it's something a little bit different. But real quick, my point was, when we went on, even on those major tours, right? You can't really tell. A lot of times you can't tell the guys from the bands from people hanging out at the bar.
True.
There's a lot of magnificent bands, genius level guys that are in these bands making amazing music. But a lot of bands, it seems like, have kind of lost the show element. Deep Within has not only the composition, not only the talent, but also the visual aspect, because when we walk in the room, it's like, oh heck, something's getting ready to happen, So
you think a lot of bands that it's hard to play live when they record in the studio?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
Is it hard to play live? Is it hard to play live what you record in the studio a lot of times for bands, you think?
So
reproducing it.
There's kind of two levels to that, and Deep Within is a good example of this, because we've gone back and forth about what level of sampling do we want to do, because our songs, like say like Strong Arm and some of these others, and Devil's Den, which we'll discuss, but they do have some backing tracks, not necessarily vocally or that kind of thing, but it does have like some sound effects. It does have wind. It does have thunderstorms. It does have mechanical industrial sounds and those types of things. So, and some bands, they go out live. And this last tour that we were on, like I was saying, with Distilled back last summer, there was a band that literally, their whole show was on a Mac. I mean, the whole thing. It was basically, if they push play and they are on a click track, which is fine. But the problem is we came to Vegas and the venue was having a problem with the connections for that stuff. And they basically came and told us, like, hey, we can't do this show. And I'm like, why? And they're like, well, because we don't have our system, we don't have the backing tracks and stuff. And I'm like, well, you guys are going to get up there and do the best that you can. This is supposed to be live music. And I think that's part of the problem when you start relying on technology for everything. So Deep Within, I've gone back and forth, but after seeing live videos of us and the intensity of our shows and how much people love it the way it is, we are just going to do the minimal things that we do. Like, say, Cody has a little sample pad on back by his drums where he'll do things for intros. He may throw, something in there. But then also to add to the intensity, like I will do like supplementary. I'm going to start doing like supplementary percussion. Like I'm going to have my Pearl marching snare, and I go crazy on the cymbals. And so those kinds of things add that element to it. Whereas a lot of bands, they go in the studio, and it makes it, the more you do in the studio in thinking that you have to do that live, it becomes more and more complex.
Correct.
And as a band coming up, if you're a headliner, okay, if you're Slipknot, Lamb of God, X Faces, these types of bands, you've got the time, okay, and the logistical necessities to be able to pull that kind of stuff off. But as a band who's going out there opening for X Faces, it's a very high pressure circumstance. You have a half hour. They want you on and off stage in a heartbeat.
No messing around.
You really have to be picky and choosy with the types of additional elements other than the live music that you want to bring. So it can be difficult, for bands to recreate what they do in the studio on stage. But we've come up with a very good balance of bringing that. And I've never had anybody come up and say, hey, Matt, that show was great, but man, I was really missing that backing track of all the mechanical sounds and strong. Right? Yes. So, but no, I love both the creative side of going into the studio and doing it. It kind of reminds me of my acting career. When you're on set or something, it's, there's kind of some hurry up and wait. There's a lot of stop and go, but it's a whole different creative process in the production studio than it is obviously live. I mean, when you're on stage, it's more like live theater, and you get that instantaneous rush of adrenaline with the crowd response. So I love them both equally.
All right.
Cool. Reese.
Yo, so why don't you tell us about the song Devil's Den?
This is very, very special, guys, because so how this happened, Devil's Den is an award-winning short film.
Really?
Okay, it was written by Ron Chaney, who is Ron Chaney of the Chaney Legacy. Ron Chaney Jr. I was invited by a friend of mine that directed the film, and he was a makeup artist as well. And I met him at Warner Brothers when I first came to LA. He did my makeup there for a project I was on. We became fast friends. Long story short, many months later, I shot the film. Ron was in the movie, okay, with me, and we became very good friends. And Ron came to me and said, "Hey, Matt, I heard that you're in a metal band." And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Well, I had a dream." And he's like, I woke up and I wrote a poem. I want you to take this poem and write a song that's going to be the title track to the movie.
Oh, wow. Cool.
And he's like, "I want to produce it. I'll take you into the studio. And I'd love to be a part of this process. I want to be there in the studio. I want to see how it's all done." So I took the poem, I wrote Devil's Den, and we went into the studio, and Ron was there, and we created this amazing song. And so, yeah, it came about because of my relationship with Ron Chaney, who, like I said, is the grandson of Lon Chaney Jr.
Wow.
And then, of course, his grandfather is Lon Chaney, who's the original Phantom of the Opera and Hunchback of Notre Dame and all kinds of other things. I mean, just an amazing story. And then as part of that, to debut the film, Ron was invited to go to like a Comic-Con type thing in LA, and it's MonsterCon or whatever it is. But he invited me to come and speak on stage. So I got in my makeup, I went there, and I was on stage with a panel, and he debuted a preview of the film, and then he debuted a preview of the song Devil's Den at this amazing function where there were, thousands of people. So it's like
we got
to pinch yourself sometimes. Yeah,
we got to do a little business right here. We want to thank everyone for listening.
Greg Golden Band, and you're listening to the Plow Zone. Rock on!
I just want all you country boys.
So go ahead and keep going. Nope, keep going with your story. I'm just gonna. This is Plow Zone Extended right here. So go ahead, Matt.
Okay. Yeah. So, continuing on with we want to continue on with the Devil's Den story, guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Keep going. Awesome.
So anyway, yeah, and listen, guys, I'm a sanguine. Okay, so like my mother is the life of the party. My father is a melancholy. He's the analytical businessman. I have both of those qualities, but sometimes when I get talking, it's like I get passionate. I'm very excited. So if you have to just say, "Hey, Matt, shut up for a second. We have to take a break."
We're good.
That's okay. Never a shortage of stories. So anyway, but yeah, so back to the Devil's Den thing. So I'm here at this wonderful function, and the reception for the song was amazing. And with that, I will say it is a very complex song. So we did this in the studio, and when we recorded it, it's amazing. But the band is currently, honestly, we're starting to rehearse it now so that we can bring it out live. We've never played the song live.
Oh, okay.
So we are getting ready to hopefully bring this song out and add it into the repertoire for the X Faces tour when we were out there, because to me it's a very special song. It's very cinematic, and with that, Ron is really excited about the song, and the film has gone on to win a lot of independent awards at various functions. So it's done very, very well, and I feel very privileged to have had the relationship with Ron, and that he helped make this song happen. So everybody should definitely check it out. Another exciting thing I want to talk about in relation to Devil's Den and a couple of the other songs. So we're in a complex situation here because, the world of music is difficult. It was difficult before, but with the advent of digital media, with the advent of social media, Instagram, Spotify, all this stuff, it's become very difficult for bands to break through the noise. And so you have to utilize every resource that you can in order to understand the complexities of algorithms and how this stuff really works. And so you do have organic growth, okay, with fan base, but at the same time, there is a big element of digital technology, algorithms and these kinds of things that you also have to master if you want to get your band to break out of the noise and have more than 25 likes. You go out and you spend bands spend thousands and thousands of dollars producing an album. And like Ron,
right,
paying the money to take us in and produce a professional song, Devil's Den, and then, boop, you pop it up on Spotify, and hey guys, here you go, have fun.
We're here.
We're
here. Check us out.
You get a few streams.
Yep.
And you've invested thousands of dollars, and people it's just free, and so it's very, very difficult. But here's the thing: if you want to be in the game, it's a business. You have to be willing to invest in your business. You have to believe in your model. And Deep Within is not a hobby band. Deep Within is not just a side project. Deep Within is a music business model. And point being, we were just picked up by Framework. Okay, it's a new artist development company run by Ryan Chuck and Amir, the original members of Orgy, who are now a part of Julian K. And that's their new project. It's kind of Orgy-like, but they were in Orgy, the original Orgy. And I met Ryan when he was the lead singer of Edema on our very first tour, and he took to the band. Like he saw what was going on and the lines of people coming up to the merch booth and stuff like that. So he and I became friends, and fortunately, through basically determination and proving our worth, Framework has signed us on to work with them now on our future Spotify and Instagram and social media growth, but as well as single releases. So the band is going to be, speaking of Devil's Den, speaking of Fractured, speaking of Oncoming Storm, and others. These are songs that have not nearly reached the impact that I know that they can on a broader scale. And the fans of Deep Within that have joined the storm so far, I need them to understand what the strategy is, because we are going to be releasing singles, okay? And some of these will be new original singles. Some of them will be things that have been released before, but they will be done on a much broader scale with full campaigning and everything else. So be paying close attention to what's going on. And something I want to get out there to the people is social media is everything. Like when we were on tour with Max Cavalera and his new project with his son, Go Ahead and Die is the name of the band, freaking kick-ass thrash type band, and we were invited to go out and tour with them in Body Box. That was our most recent tour before this independent tour. And being out with Max is like, I mean, it's like an aura. Like, this guy is amazing. He's Sepultura and Soulfly and all this history that he has, and learning from him. Like when I go out on these tours, it's like I am a sponge absorbing everything I possibly can. And so, but when we were out on tour with them, we were playing all of our tracks and that kind of stuff. But we decided that these songs haven't reached the kind of potential that they deserve. And so through Ryan and Amir at Framework, we're going to be working on re-releasing some of these songs as producer edits or other things. And so we need people to really be paying attention. But the biggest point is when you go to another level like this, and like we signed with Framework, Meta and the business models and the algorithmic systems and stuff, it's an interesting it's like a living, breathing being. Okay, so we had to recreate a new official Deep Within Facebook and Instagram page. So it's Deep Within Band Official on Instagram and Deep Within Band on Facebook. So there is the old Deep Within band page, and there is the old Deep Within band page on Instagram. So it can be confusing for people, but I need people to trust what's happening. Please go and like the Deep Within Band Official page on Instagram and follow us there. And also the Deep Within Band page on Facebook. We will be, in the interim, over the course of the next 90 days or so, we will be sharing essentially every major milestone, the X Faces tour, the things going on with that, the reels that I will be making behind the scenes things on those platforms, the old ones. But the goal is to retire those or kind of archive those. They won't go anywhere because they'll basically be like a road sign to the new Deep Within Band Official. Okay, but over the course of the next 6 months, especially going out with the X Faces and getting the word out there to people, and guys like you, who are supporting bands that are coming up, and I can't thank you enough for having me on to get the word out there to people. So join the storm. Go to deepwithinbandofficial.com or Deep Within Band Official on Instagram and Facebook, and then we also do have our official website, deepwithinband.com, so you can keep up with all the action. 2026 is a big year, guys.
Excellent. Thank you, Matt.
Why don't we get to some of that music? Why don't we get to some Devil's Den then, huh?
Let's get to some Devil's Den, guys.
Let's do this. Deep Within, Devil's Den, Plow Zone Radio. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
sand. You wanna survive, you better aim high. Oh, they'll never die. Looking through the ground, see them crawling. You better run and hide. You feel the curse, you hear it calling. The devil speaks inside, so you better aim high.
And that is Devil's Den with Deep Within. Matt, love that song, my friend. And the video, I mean, what the heck? Love it.
Awesome, and really appreciate it, guys. Everybody stay tuned. There's a lot going on in 2026. Be sure to check out the X Faces tour. If you're, we're playing in, I think it's like 38 or 40 cities across the United States, coast to coast. This summer we leave and we start in July and we're going through about mid-August. So please come out and support the band and join the storm.